I'm going to tell you 5 ways how you can use the test instrument you already have. I can guarantee it. In fact, it's at the end of your arms. Yep, it's using your fingers. The first of all is you can use it as a signal injector if you're testing an audio amplifier. If you want a little bit of input signal and you don't have anything else like a proper signal injector, then you can just use your finger if the gain is enough. That's because there's a lot of electromagnetic signals around, especially if you're doing this at home, and there'll be enough pickup from that to cause a hum on the audio amplifier that you're testing. When you are fault finding an audio amplifier, you generally work back from the speaker. You apply a signal on various inputs, and if you find a point where the signal stops, then that's where your fault may be. Now, let's assuming you've got several stages here. Now, there might not be enough gain on the final stage for there to be a hum when you put the finger on its input, so you might need something else, but with the previous stage or the one before that, then there's increasingly more gain the more you go back. So at around this part of the circuit you will likely hear a hum. The volume control is often a good place. If you put your finger before the volume control, then the hum will be controllable by it. If your finger is at the point after the volume control, then adjusting the volume control won't change the hum. But yeah, just start from the speaker end and work back, and at the point where the noise stops, because the noise should get progressively louder as you go further back, as you've got more gain between your finger or the signal injector and the speaker. But if something stops, then that's where your problem may be. Secondly, there's the possibility of using a finger to test for microphonics. Microphonics are, in say an audio amplifier, or it could even be an RF circuit, a component behaves like a microphone. You tap it with your finger and you hear it through the speaker, the effect of it, converting a little bit of movement into sound. Now that's a bad thing, and the higher the gain your piece of equipment, the worse microphonics can be. This is an example of microphonics. I'm tapping on a transmitter that is a free running oscillator. My tapping is causing a variation in frequency and thus a sound in the receiver, behaving like an insensitive microphone. The way to reduce microphonics is pay attention to mechanical design of your audio amplifiers. So instead of just having a circuit board that's bolted hard up against a metal or plastic box, then maybe have some form of damping of the movement. Maybe rubber, maybe sponge, maybe even cloth if you don't have anything else. But that sort of damping will reduce microphonics and make your equipment much better behaved. Again, the second thing, you can use a finger to find out if it's a problem. Just tap the lid of the case, and if there's microphonics, then you've got more work to do. Thirdly, there's resistance. A dry finger will have a very high resistance of several hundred k ohm, maybe even meg ohms. If you leak your finger, then the resistance will be lower. That can help test you with audio amplifiers, or even if you've got a, say, 100k resistor in a circuit and you want to see if its performance is better if you reduce that value of resistor, well, instead of taking out the resistor and putting another, you could just lick your finger, put your finger across and see if the behaviour of the circuit changes. And I'm talking about things like audio amplifiers, RF amplifiers, anywhere where that resistor may change the characteristics of a circuit. Remember, only works with higher value of resistors. If it's a low value resistor, then your skin resistance is too high to make much of an effect. I'll tell you a story. It happened just yesterday. I was playing with a FM transmitter. The RF seemed to be working fine. There was an oscillator, RF amplifier after that, that was okay. But the audio amplifier, the modulator, I wasn't getting anything when I spoke into the microphone on the output of the transmitter. I was not transmitting FM, but the microphone was working. Anyway, I was probing around with screwdrivers, no luck. Then I tried my finger. And then I found that if I had a finger between the emitter and the base, I think it was, then there is some audio. All of a sudden, I had no idea what that was. And then I had a look at the transistor again, and I realised that I put a PNP transistor, whereas it should have been an NPN transistor. So I took that out, put in an NPN transistor, and it worked fine. But the way that I found I had the problem was I used my finger to put a bit of resistance that helped to switch the transistor on. I don't think it was working very well, but it at least proved that I had a problem and gave me an idea of what to do next. So yeah, when you need a medium to high value of resistance, you can use a finger, and if you want it to be a little bit lower but still quite high, then you can lick it. Fourth, another thing, and this could be a real lifesaver, or at least equipment saver. Have a touch around and various bits of your circuit, particularly power transistors, and if it's too hot to touch, then you've got a problem. You'll need to do something about your heat sinking. Maybe you haven't got suitable conductive paste and you have high thermal resistance. Maybe there's an issue in your circuit, like the bias might be set too much and there's just too much current coming through the transistor. You are exceeding its ratings, then maybe there's some component values you need to change. But yeah, if you have your finger on components, particularly power transistors, then that can give you a warning before the thing blows up. So hopefully you've got enough time to make the required changes and get your circuit operating correctly. Number 5 is you can use your finger as a way to vary the frequency of a tuned circuit, particularly an RF oscillator, especially HF or even VHF. If you've got, say, an FM bug or wireless microphone and you're not quite sure that it's on or in the FM broadcast band or not, wave your finger near the coil, maybe compress or expand the turns a little bit, and hopefully you'll hear a signal that will get you a starting point and help you align the thing to your desired frequency. Moving your finger near a tuned circuit can shift frequency quite a lot. How much depends. Higher the frequency, then you've got a bigger shift. If it's a air round coil, then you'll have a bigger shift than if it's a toroid, which is generally self-contained and you won't have much of a shift. Here's the low power FM transmitter again with a free running oscillator. When I put my finger near the coil, as you can hear, it detunes it. Even on a homebrew receiver, if you want a bit of fine tuning and you don't have a fine tuning control, then waving your finger around may help you tune in SSB signals a bit better. It's tiring, it won't necessarily be very stable, but it's at least a starting point. I told you I'd talk about 5 things. Well, I'm going to throw in another as a bonus. However, this one is one I don't recommend. Of course, sticking fingers in the wrong places when you've got high voltage equipment can mean an electric shock. Yep, that proves that there's voltage there, but not something that you'd want to do. So only do these finger tricks on battery powered low voltage equipment. If you want to test for high voltages, then use something proper. That's something I wouldn't suggest using your fingers to do. And then there's another thing you can do. If you like this video, then use your finger, click on the like button, the bell, subscribe, buy my books, all that sort of stuff. But anyway, just thought I'd give you a quick rundown of 5 things you can do with the most useful piece of test equipment you already have at the end of your arms. It's your fingers. No doubt you'll agree with me that using your hands is a great way of doing electronic tests, even if you don't have much gear. And even if you do, then they're quick, they're available, they're at hand, so then you can move on to other pieces of test equipment once you've found there's an issue with your fingers. So thanks for watching, and happy building and testing. Do you want to get the most from your portable QRP operating? Good Antennas is a great place to start. Find out how I succeed with my 2 books, Hand-Carried QRP Antennas and More Hand-Carried QRP Antennas. They're big sellers with favourable reviews from all around the world. To learn more, visit VK3YE.com or search the titles on Amazon.